Welcome everybody to the penultimate footy accumulators betting show of the season. Alan McInally, James Vickers and I have spent the lockdown and the weeks afterwards losing accas and encouraging you to follow us fools and throw your money away as well. The plan was to build a naughty little piggy bank, and Alan was going to take us out to dinner with a few bottles of Chateau Neuf de Pape, but it's looking like a few tinnies of White Lightning in the park after our displays. That's what we deserve. Boys, good to see you. We've got to talk about what is going to be an incredible final day in the Premier League. It was a really eventful final day in the Championship, wasn't it? But last day, Alan, straight to it, Aston Villa or Watford to go down. We'll talk about Bournemouth as well because they've still got a chance. But Watford and Villa, 34 points. Villa better with the goal difference by 1, and then goals scored, which it could go to as well, 40 compared to Watford's 34. Watford are at Arsenal, Villa at West Ham. What's going to happen, McInally?
Well, if I keep saying Villa's going to get relegated, hopefully we won't. It's that reverse psychology. Let's just put things right here. Villa are fighting for their life. Arsenal were absolutely atrocious. And it couldn't happen at a better time for my team. No shot on goal from Arsenal, and they've just beaten Liverpool and Man City. Do me a favour. But Aston Villa couldn't believe their luck.
That's now, classic Arsenal, isn't it? That's what James said.
That's exactly what James said. And James is spot on, by the way. He is spot on. I mean, they've got some wonderful players, but boy, did they just give it a who cares. Anyway, that's all good news for my old team, Aston Villa. Watford then go to Arsenal, and I'm like, surely Arsenal can't possibly be as bad and have a little bit of pride in themselves. So I'm going to go, hopefully, that my old team actually do survive, which is the proper kick in the bum they don't need from me saying, because I've not got too much right. And Arsenal do actually beat Watford, and my team, Villa, get a point at West Ham. So I'm going to say that Villa survive. But I've said for ages, I said at the start of the season they wouldn't go down. But I think for the last 2 weeks, thinking, I don't know where we're going to get goals, never mind points. Trezeguet comes up with one, and we managed to get our head above the water, albeit only just.
Yeah. James, I get to choose BBC where I'm going to be last day. I've gone for London Stadium because I think the story's going to be there with Villa. Where do you think that story's going to be? Where's the headline going to be on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I completely agree with you and Alan. I think Villa will stay up. I said, Arsenal just reverting back to type, 2 fantastic results against Liverpool and City, and then they just put in a performance like that against Villa. I think Villa were very good, so obviously credit to them. I think they were as good as Arsenal were bad. But yeah, I just can't see past Villa. I think Watford going to Arsenal. Arteta seems like the kind of manager that after that Villa game, he's going to want a reaction. There'll be a few changes, I'd imagine. I just can't see Watford getting anything from that game. I think Villa might nick a point against West Ham. West Ham's safe now. They were fantastic against United. So they may have one eye on the beach, as the saying goes. So yeah, I fully expect Villa to stay up, and I think in the end it will be by a point, and obviously the goal difference will improve then due to that point and Watford getting beat.
And how much does it play into it, do you think, guys, when Arsenal, just looking in the diary, FA Cup final, August the 1st, which is 6 days later? What do you think, Al?
Well, I thought for one reason, they had one eye on that particular game when they played my old team, actually. I tell you, I was going to ask James, they play Watford, and if you remember rightly, Watford in the last day of the season had a rather incredible, what was it? Knockaert misses a penalty, they got up the other end, and Deeney scores the goal. It takes it. That was just unbelievable. So in terms of last day phenomenons, Watford have been pretty good. But the problem I've got with this particular game is, A, I don't know what Arsenal's going to come out with, and B, they played defensively and counter-attacking football against Arsenal and against Liverpool and Manchester United. When they look as though they need to go and break a team down like they were meant to try and do against Villa, and should hopefully try and do against Watford. Midfield's not good enough. The front three are all right, but the midfield is not good enough to play that little one through. So I don't know actually how they're going to play it, because defensively, for the last couple of games have been brilliant and playing on the counter-attack. When they've actually got to go and win a game, that's when I think Arsenal really struggled. So I don't know what's going to happen with them, honestly, but definitely one eye on the cup final. Genuinely one eye on the cup final. But I've never thought that Chelsea are a bigger certainty in all my life after watching them play Aston Villa.
James, here's a scenario for you. Listen to this. I'm making this one up. They're currently writing this script in Hollywood right now. Bournemouth win at Everton on the final day. Watford lose by any scoreline. And Villa lose by more than one goal. And Eddie Howe's team stay in the Premier League.
I was watching the Bournemouth game the other night, and I felt so sorry for Eddie Howe, especially with the last minute, disallowed equaliser, which would have put them in a better position now. They still would have needed a win on the last day, but you could just see he looked absolutely deflated. So I'd be delighted for him. He's a manager I do like. I think they've got a very good chance to go into Everton and winning. Everton can only finish 11th or 12th, depending on the Southampton result and their result. They can't get to 10th to catch Arsenal. So I'd imagine there'll be a few changes with the Everton team. Nothing really to play for, banging mid-table, and obviously Bournemouth fighting for their life. The only thing with Bournemouth is they seem to be just dropping players for injury and suspension left, right and centre. So what team Eddie Howe puts out, but then you look at, the likes of Sam Surridge came on, thought he'd scored that equaliser, who's not really had a sniff this season, so that further adds to your Hollywood script aspect of it. Someone who's been, out in the cold all season comes in for the last game and keeps them in the Premier League. So I don't think we should write them off by a long stretch. They've got probably the nicest fixture out of the three teams we've mentioned, playing a team with absolutely nothing to play for, mid-table as Everton. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all, but, yeah, it'd take one hell of a turnaround for them to escape.
James, what price is that scenario, incidentally?
I've got it here, actually. Bournemouth to stay up, right? This is what I was about to say to you, boys. Should we empty that piggy bank and go for it? Bournemouth to stay up on the final day, 10-1. Tell me if I'm wrong, James. These are the prices I got about an hour ago. Watford 11-4, Villa 2-5, 10-1. That scenario is not the craziest of all of them, is it? And like you say, James, if Surridge had got that goal, and it would have been kind of more in their hands, wouldn't it? On 32 points to get the win, they're definitely up.
Yeah, definitely. I think 10-1, fantastic price, because I can see that happening, to be honest. I think, West Ham's a difficult place to go to, the way they've been playing in the last few weeks, and Arsenal, again, you don't know which Arsenal are going to turn up. I think what may work in Arsenal's favour, as Alan was saying, is the fact that Watford do need to go for it and better Villa's result. So they'll be sort of pushing on a bit more, might leave spaces in behind for Arsenal to exploit. But yeah, 10-1, fantastic price. And I think you've convinced me there, Will. I might have a cheeky answer on that.
I think that's a bet for me, James and Will, that if I have a tenner on that scenario, I'm hoping to lose a tenner and Villa just go there and get what they need to get at West Ham. But now you mention it, and I suppose in terms of not easy game, but Bournemouth have everything to play for, and Everton have nothing to play for. And Everton hugely in transition with a new manager and the players that he's obviously either going to keep or get rid of. Oh, gee whiz! There could be a movie. There could be a movie coming up after all, couldn't there?
Absolutely. Do you know what's really interesting as well? Just without boring people with numbers, but if Bournemouth get the win, there is a scenario where it comes down to goals scored, where the goal differences could all be the same. And then it's sort of Aston Villa on 40 goals scored, Watford on 34. Bournemouth have scored more than Watford, 37, only 3 behind Villa. It's going to be really interesting. I was going to ask you, Al, at the top, what were your final day dramas? Were there ever any sort of last day great escapes or anything?
Well, when I left Celtic and went to Villa, Villa had been relegated actually to the Championship basicmillly. And originally I wasn't going to go because, well, I didn't want to play in a division below. But we came up the first season. But Millwall had actually won the league and we were second. Millwall, the good team at the time with Sheringham, etc. And obviously we did as well. And we had to go to Swindon and get a point. It's all we needed. And on the Friday morning, we normally played a little bit of head tennis and a little bit of bits and pieces. And obviously spoke about the Swindon game. And Graham Taylor, God rest him, came out with about 12 to 15 bottles of champagne. And we celebrated. Well, not celebrated, but we had a drink to say, look, the season's been incredible. All we need is a point. Go and get it. And it was 0-0. And I promise you, I don't think Swindon had a shot and we had 2 shots. And that was pretty nerve-wracking. And actually, I think it went to like 96, 97, 98 minutes until we realised we were up, and that was pretty good. And when I won the league at Celtic, we had to go to St Mirren and score 5 and Hearts get beat from Dundee, and they did, and we won the league on the last day of the season. So I've had a couple of last days. Listen, on the last day, trust me, the way footballers' minds work, whether you're clicked on or clicked off, there are some strange things happen. And don't forget, last night, Swansea are in the playoffs. How is that possible? That Forest, there would be a 6, 7, 8 goal swing. There will be some, and during the game of the Arsenal, Watford, and the Southampton, Sheffield United, and West Ham Villa, etc., something will be happening with 15 minutes to go, and you'll think, no chance. Yeah, for sure.
I tell you what, the final day is there's always a story somewhere, isn't there? Like, I was at Luton last night in the Championship. What a story that was. And there's always, you see the joy, you see the heartbreak. I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And going back to my younger years, I remember as a City fan, 1996, when we needed to beat Liverpool, basically, and it was all square. And Alan Ball thought we needed a draw, and it was all level. And City, typical City, we got the ball in the corner. We thought, we're up, we're staying in the Premier League. 1996, we're going to be here next year. And then it only clicked that we needed to win the game. So Alan Ball's running down the touchline, telling them they need a goal, and they've got it in the corner. And then the whistle went, and we're down. How times have changed, eh? Right, let's talk about the Championship. We won't mention Preston, James, but let's talk about Leeds. Because Marcelo Bielsa, when he came in, there were question marks, hugely experienced coach. Then we had Spygate. We weren't quite sure what we were going to get from this guy. He's finally got Leeds up. 16 years they've been exiled in the Championship. In fact, listen to this. They've finished in the bottom half of the Championship in 6 of the 7 seasons before Bielsa came in. That shows you kind of the job that he's done there. You've got his blue bucket on the side. He's full of character. Be interesting the game against Chelsea. Won it with Frank Lampard and what happened with Derby. Al, what's it like playing at Ellen Road? It's a huge club, a huge fan base. That doesn't always guarantee you top flight football, but they're finally back.
No, brilliant. I had 2 really good ones. We played them in the FA Cup with Aston Villa. We won 1-0, and it was a great game. Obviously, I scored. We played them in the league as well, and I think we beat them 2-1. And it's as hard a ground as you'll go to get a result, by the way. If not the hardest, that's unfair, but just the atmosphere. It's exactly what you think tribalism of fans they have, but at the same time, because of Jack Charlton, Billy Bremner, Peter Lorimer, Eddie Gray, Frank Gray, Joe Jordan, Gordon McLean, just players that you were like, and we're all gods incidentally. Norman Hunter, I mean, for goodness sake, and we've lost some of them, obviously, which is a shame. Just a tradition in English football that's been genuinely lost. I mean, I heard somebody say, we're back where we belong. We're not back where they belong, but they deserve and merited now where they belong to get back. And what you said there, that stat about they were, you say middle bottom for the last 6 years. I don't know, and I don't want to have a slur against the managers that took the job on, but Mr. Bielsa has made people straighten their back a little bit and take things a little bit more seriously, rather than think, we're Leeds United, we're too good, we'll probably do better than what we've obviously done. And I think he's changed attitudes apart from making players a little better. And it's wonderful to see Leeds back. It's a great football club.
Yeah. James, how are they going to get on in the Prem? Listen to some of these odds, right? What do you fancy out of these? 10-3 to be relegated. Top half in the Premier League next season, Leeds 7-2. Top 6, Leeds fans dreaming, 14-1. And then Bielsa, this is the one I fancy out of these odds, 16-1, Bielsa to win a Manager of the Month award. How do you think they're going to do?
Honestly, I think they'll do all right. I think they first season should be looking for sort of mid-table-ish, maybe lower half of mid-table. I think they will stay up, I think, with the right investment. They're not too far away at the moment as it is, but I think they will stay up. I expect them over the next few years, obviously given the right investment, not to have the same level of success as Wolves have had, but to head in that sort of direction where they're improving each year, establishing themselves as a Premier League club. And to go back to Bielsa, what a fantastic job he's done. For someone from Lancashire, Preston fan, there's a bit of a rivalry there with teams from Yorkshire, especially Leeds, that we've struck up a bit of a rivalry with in the Championship. So I'll get crucified for praising him. But yeah, he's done a fantastic job. I think he's got the highest points per game out of any Leeds manager since David O'Leary was there back in sort of 2002, I believe it was, when he left. So done fantastically well for a team that had sort of really underachieved in the Championship. They got close quite a few times, and then sort of as the chant goes, Leeds are falling apart again, just fell apart after Christmas. And they had a little wobble around Christmas time this year. And I remember talking to my dad, who's a massive Man United fan, who, you know, despises Leeds, and he was sort of under the impression that they were going to go the same way again. But, you know, to be fair to him, he learned his lesson from last season, galvanised the players, and they went on that fantastic run then to get promoted. So, yeah, to go back to your question, well, I think they'll do fine. I think they won't be sort of challenging like Sheffield United had. Sort of this season, I think the standard of the Premier League next season will be a bit better than it was at the start of this year. But they'll certainly be sort of around lower half of mid-table, I'd say, and survive pretty comfortably. But yeah, that manager of the month.
Yeah, sorry, James, I interrupted you there. I was going to say manager of the month 16-1. We've got to have a nibble at that, because all we need is 1 month and we'll get 16-1. I was going to say surely it's all about the recruitment, and he's already been apparently connected with Cavani.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I was having sort of a 50-50 in my head whether they want to go down the route of attracting these, you know, big money players who are sort of over the sort of wrong side of their prime now. I saw them linked with like Ibrahimovic. I'm sure both of Ibrahimovic and Cavani do a fantastic job, but if it does go wrong for them, the last thing they want is to be, you know, stuck with these players on massive wages, because that could just take them back to square one again. So I think obviously the owner seems like a bit of a character, throwing all these names around to create a bit of excitement. But I think their sort of approach will probably, sort of for their sake, be a bit more sensible. Maybe one or two marquee names, but I think on the large part, getting players back in, if possible, like Ben White from Brighton, who's been fantastic for them this year.
Huge.
I know Graham Potter's been very adamant that he's going to be a Brighton player next year, so we'll have to see with that one. But players in that mould, keeping that core together, I think is going to be crucial for them.
Yeah, Brighton are going to
I know you want to move on here, Will, but I saw a great tweet from the boy Patrick Bamford, who's got his negativity around him about scoring goals, and someone said, "Will Patrick Bamford score goals in the Premiership?" And all he put went, "Here we go again." And to be fair to him, now he's got the opportunity to prove a lot of people wrong, but I do think they'll have to get, let's just say, let's take this into context. They've won the Championship. We don't know how they're going to get on in the Premiership with these players, because none of them have been close. And incidentally, I don't think Ben White, unless they properly break the bank for him in terms of whatever Brighton want from him, I think he will end up at Brighton, because the boy's different class. He's done fantastic.
Yeah. And look, you mentioned Patrick Bamford. He's still only 26 years old. I remember 9 years ago when he made his Forest debut in the Championship. You know, he's still a baby, isn't he? And you look at what Bielsa's done. This is what's going to be really interesting. Do Leeds follow the blueprint set by Sheffield United and, you know, coach the players that they've got? Because look how Bielsa has transformed the likes of Ayling, Douglas, Phillips, Liam Cooper, Hernandez, Ben White coming in on loan. Exactly. Stuart Dallas, another great shout. Yeah. So, you know, does he stick with that? It's an interesting one, isn't it? Do you do what Sheffield United did and literally just sign two players and then only give them a little bit of a chance and look how it's worked out? Or do you do a Fulham? Do you do an Aston Villa, spend 150 million quid and then suddenly, you know, you're in trouble?
Well, I think he'll give everybody the opportunity that he can keep there. We've already spoken about Ben, who might not be there, have the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to seeing the boy Tyler Roberts in the Premier Division, because I think at the very beginning of the year he was playing up top because of injuries, etc., etc. And he's not an out-and-out number 9. He plays in the wider areas, and I'm looking forward to him being not Adama Traore or something like that, but you know, he's got a little trick in him. He's only young. I'm looking forward to players like him, but there's no question, and I'm going to say this for sure. With the players they've got at the moment, it won't be enough to keep them in the Premier Division. They will have to add 3 or 4 decent players just to straighten the thing up and just make sure everybody realises, you know, we're not in the Championship anymore. This is the big guns now. We're in the Premiership.
On the count of 3, thumbs up if Leeds are staying up next season, or thumbs down. 1, 2, 3. 3 thumbs up. There we go, Leeds fans. That moves us nicely on to the Nap Challenge. And look, it's like, again, those Hollywood script writers who are writing that Bournemouth story have written the Nap Challenge story as well. 7-7, neck and neck going into the final game week. Alan went for a Swansea win at Reading. What a story that was in the Championship. And James picked Derby at Birmingham. So both winners. Alan, you get to go first. The final choice of the season. What is going to be the fixture that's going to win it for you?
Yeah, it's probably Norwich to beat Man City, Will. Only because I'm going to the game. No, let's be serious. I don't think, unfortunately. And by the way, all the best to Norwich in the Championship. I should say that. I've been looking at all the fixtures, and I want to stay clear of West Ham Villa. In fact, I'm absolutely definitely staying clear of West Ham Villa. And Arsenal Watford, and Chelsea Wolves, which incidentally, can you believe that Chelsea play Wolves and Leicester play Manchester United, which I'm sure we're going to touch on. So I'm going to go for a team that has been absolutely sensational. In fact, they both have. It's Southampton and Sheffield United, but the game is at Southampton, and my nap is going to be Southampton to beat Sheffield because they're a decent price. Sheffield done brilliant, but I think Southampton are still at it, and I think Hasenhüttl will make sure they finish the season strong as they did. Not that there's anything wrong with Chris Wilder's enthusiasm or will to win. I just think Southampton and Danny Ings have been just sensational, so I'll go Southampton.
Okay, I was thinking you might be thinking Wolves at the Bridge to be controversial. You're going to go?
Well, I kind of was. I genuinely kind of was, because I think with Chelsea, albeit having done really well and then concede 5 against Liverpool, Wolves will score, incidentally. Wolves will definitely score. But to try and make sure they keep Pulisic and Giroud, etc., quiet will be a tough game that Saturday. That'll be a good end of season game, considering there's so much on it, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, so Alan's going Southampton to win at home to Sheffield United. James.
Under
You're
pressure.
ahead for so long.
Under pressure.
He was ahead for so long. Is it going to slip away? Is this going to be like Leicester's? Is this going to be like Leicester's Champions League dreams for Vickers? What's he going for?
I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go Burnley at home to Brighton. Burnley, 1 defeat since the restart, and that was against Man City. Most teams lose against Man City. Since then, fantastic. Points against Liverpool and Wolves. Got a good result against Sheffield United as well. So, going to go Burnley. Brighton obviously safe away from home. Burnley fantastic at Turf Moor this season. Sean Dyche won't let them switch off for a second, even though they are sort of firmly in mid-table, and he'll want to round out the season with a win. So going to go Burnley, and I'm going to be watching sort of through the gaps in my fingers. Pretty nervous. But yeah, Burnley for me, and I think they'll have a bit too much for Brighton on the last day.
Will this be Sean Dyche's last game in charge of Burnley, James?
With the rumblings that are coming out of Burnley, I'd say I'm swaying more on the side of yes.
Ooh.
But I wouldn't like to see him leave Burnley. I think he's done fantastic there, and given the backing, I think he can kick him on to that next level.
Okay.
Well, what do you think?
It's
the only thing I was thinking about when I was looking at the fixtures, thinking, I wonder if Sean will be here next year.
There's been a few murmurings, haven't there? We've talked about it before. A few murmurings about Aston Villa, and I guess a lot depends on, or does it even depend on that? If Dean Smith, not that we want to get managers sacked, if Dean Smith keeps Aston Villa up, do they go again with Dean Smith in the Premier League? There's been some talk, isn't there, that Dyche could be the club, and it seems, apart from all the technical director stuff and a Spanish guy and Christian Perslow, you take that equation out of it, it does seem like a good fit as a club, but we shall see. So there we go. James going for Burnley at home to Brighton, and Al going for Southampton to beat Sheffield United. Match in focus. We've talked about the bottom, haven't we? So let's make the match in focus the Champions League race. Leicester against Manchester United at the King Power on the final day. Here's a scenario for you. Well, the obvious and the easy one for Manchester United fans is Manchester United just have to draw that game at the King Power. They've got Champions League football. They're already in third behind City, which is a disgrace, isn't it? Absolute disgrace. Chelsea in fourth, Leicester in fifth. And look, there is a scenario then that Leicester draw that game. Yeah, so it works for Manchester United. They're in the Champions League. Leicester could draw it and Chelsea lose at home to Wolves, and Chelsea slip out of the top four. Going to be really interesting. How's it going to play out, James, on the final day for that game, Leicester Man United?
So I've been sat here thinking, and I think as soon as we get off recording, I'm going on request a bet, and I'm having a look at Chelsea to miss out on Champions League and Bournemouth to stay up as a double. See what the odds will be on that.
Wow. That's got to be about 20-1, isn't it?
Swayed me on that. Yeah, I think the worst thing that happened for United was getting beat by getting a point against West Ham. If they'd have got that victory against West Ham, I'd say, yeah, no problems. Playing for a draw with the way they've been at the back, I think is just asking for trouble. I was
both sides, really, isn't it? I mean, Leicester have been absolutely sliding recently. That defeat at Bournemouth, I was at Spurs, they got back at Spurs. You can't see them buying a win.
Yeah, I'd like to see United get in there. I think they've been fantastic since the restart, but they've just stuttered in recent weeks. That FA Cup game and the West Ham game, Southampton game before that as well. I think going to Leicester, if they could have chose Leicester or Chelsea to go to on the last day for teams in and around them, I think they would have chose Leicester with the way Leicester have been playing. Still not an easy place to go, but I think Leicester have been one of those teams that have really struggled with a lack of fans. The atmosphere that they have at the King Power really does help them. So I think United will get something from the game and get top four. Won't be easy, but yeah, playing for a draw for them will be, disaster.
James,
yes.
James, do you think, and I think this is a huge part here, by the way, did you see his team selection the other day? No Wan-Bissaka, no Pogba. He played, who else am I missing here? Martial was on the bench. And then as soon as I saw the team, I was thinking, he's thinking about Leicester. He's thinking about one game and one game only, because he thinks Man U should be good enough, A, to either beat West Ham or get the point that would obviously say we never got beat. But as soon as I saw the team, I thought it's all eggs in for the Leicester game. And I think they'll all be back in. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think given the choice of top four Champions League football or an FA Cup win, obviously United are going to choose Champions League football.
Yeah.
It attracts the better calibre of players for them. And that is their sort of bread and butter, Champions League football. So it's a big gamble. I think the way Leicester come out and attack them, because Leicester obviously need to win, will be, probably more beneficial for United. They've looked better on the counter-attack against those kind of teams this season. And I was saying the other week as well that Solskjaer seems to really have got it right against the bigger teams this year, but struggles to break down the smaller teams or teams lower down the table. So I expect United to get something, and wouldn't be surprised if Wolves beat Chelsea. Really wouldn't. With the way Wolves have been playing, they've got nothing to play for, which will work in their favour. They can just go there and have a free hit and see if they can end the season on a high. So yeah, I think I'm going to have a little flutter on that bet that I mentioned there of Bournemouth staying up and Chelsea missing out.
I'll tell you what, Al, Leicester fans would be absolutely devastated, wouldn't they, to miss out on the Champions League. This is the first time they've been outside of the top four since September. I mean, I know
that's incredible, Will.
Isn't it? And to slip out, and like I say, look, they got that win, didn't they, against Sheffield United in between losing to Bournemouth and Tottenham, but they were so dangerous before, and it was in September we were talking about them potentially even being in the title race. So to settle for Europa League football, even though any Leicester fan on the planet would have taken fifth place at the beginning of the season, wouldn't they, given where they'd been, and let's not forget where they were under Claude Puel before Rodgers came in, but to come so close, that's what's disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's fair, Will, and I think you're dead on. I think they would have taken fifth place for sure. But it's not been a fall from grace, but they've certainly been in the wrong direction. I mean, funnily enough, I was at Sheffield Wednesday the other day, and someone said to me they beat Bristol City, and at Christmas they were third. And going into the last day of the season against Middlesbrough, they were 14 points off playoff. Now, obviously, that's a bit more extreme. But in terms of Premier League, to think you could play in the Premier League, you think you'd be playing in the Champions League, then it's quite a fall from Leicester. The points they haven't got, and they've been turned over. I will remind both of you that we had a thumbs up for Leicester not to be in the top four, incidentally.
Yeah. Yes.
Which means we're saying then that Chelsea do get the required point that they would need, and Leicester obviously wouldn't manage to beat Manchester United. It'll be absolutely fascinating. Again, there'll be twists and turns. If I put my head on the block, I think Manchester United and Leicester will probably draw, because Leicester will be full guns blazing, and Chelsea will make sure that they're not beaten by Wolves, which will keep their nose ahead of Leicester. But it'll be a fascinating finish. But certainly in terms of where they were to where they are now, Brendan Rodgers won't be happy. But at the end of the season, when he realises if the case says he's got fifth, then surely he might think, look, European football, we kick on for next season.
I'll tell you who's going to be watching the final day on a split screen with the Chelsea Wolves game and the Leicester Manchester United game is a certain Timo Werner, Ziyech, and potentially Kai Havertz as well, thinking, are we about to go to a Europa League club? I mean, that's what it's about, isn't it? You make big signings that, you kind of promised them Champions League football. And when they signed, they looked really good for the Champions League. And who knows? Who knows? Right. Here we go then for our final acca of the season. I don't know why I'm saying that with any kind of drama in my voice, because we've been absolutely pathetic, haven't we?
Yeah, you
even
two
in Germany. even when we started in Germany, we moved back to England. We thought we've got this, and we've let everyone down. We've let our mums down. We've let the nation down. Even Jack Cook has been on Twitter saying Forest to beat Stoke 4-1 loss, Man United to win, draw, and Brentford to win, loss. What a disaster. Well, you bang on, Jack Cook. The only one we got right was Cardiff, and look, that's why James is smiling at the screen there, at the bottom of the screen. This week then, here we go. Come on, let's go out with a bang. Let's go out with a flyer. Tottenham to win at Palace. Can you believe it? Palace, 7 defeats on the bounce. First time that's ever happened to Roy Hodgson as a manager in England. After looking so good after the restart, they beat Bournemouth, didn't they? Down at Bournemouth. And then suddenly 7 defeats on the bounce. So I'm thinking Tottenham to win at Palace, and Tottenham could still finish in 6th in the Europa League spot if that's what they want. That's another question. And good old Manchester City to wallop Norwich back down into the Championship. Goodbye. Are you happy with those two?
Well, Palace can't score a goal, James, can they?
So yeah, happy with both of those two.
Not many anyway.
No, only Norwich have scored fewer this season than Palace. Yeah. Okay, so you boys going to stick with your naps? Are you going to go Burnley, Brighton, Southampton, Sheffield United? Or are we going to throw something different in?
I'll stick with my nap. It worked out well last week with the Cardiff game, so I'm going to double down, stick with my nap this week. I think Burnley, as I said, I'll have too much for Brighton, so happy to stick with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to go the same then. I'll double down as well. Southampton's my nap. I'll put them in the acca. So Southampton, Burnley. We need to throw City in, so you're involved, Will. and Spurs, if Spurs don't beat Palace,
I
nearly said he won't be there next season. I'm probably sure he will, but they've got to finish as high as they possibly can. Yeah,
just signed a new 1-year deal, isn't he, Roy Hodgson? But that's the thing, isn't it? It's kind of looking to the future for Crystal Palace now. They've been down the Frank de Boer route, and they sacked him after 10 games. They tried to play out from the back. And look, he's done the spin you have to put on Palace is he has done an unbelievable job. Take his age out of it. Take out the fact that he's 72 and so on. That him and Ray Lewington to keep Crystal Palace up and what they've done, and they've had near top 10 finishes. Let's not forget the last few seasons with all respect to him, Jordan Ayew, Christian Benteke, who can't hit a barn door, and Connor Wickham, who's not even at the club. I'll tell you what the answer to Crystal Palace's problems is right now. It's a certain Alexander Sorloth on loan at Trabzonspor, 29 goals in all competition. Danish, 24, 25 years old. I know he had a little run there and Palace fans didn't fancy him. You got a striker scoring 29 goals in the Europa League and playing for Trabzonspor in Turkey. Get him back. Stick him in there. What's the worst?
That would certainly help, wouldn't it? Because the moment in time hitting the back of the net is a problem. But I just a little bit about Roy. I don't know if there's a manager with more experience in the league than Roy Hodgson. So quite simply, he said, Europe, he's been in Finland, he's been in Switzerland, he's been
44 years out. 44 years.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, if he doesn't know what's going to happen, then he's wasting his time, and that's why they're giving him a year's contract. When I was saying about he'll lose his job, I didn't mean Roy Hodgson. Roy's not losing his job. He'll decide when he wants to go, I think. And then
Jose, sorry.
I'm saying if Spurs don't beat Palace, I'm thinking.
Sorry. I've gone off on a rant there, haven't I?
No, I'm glad you did, because I'm glad we pinpointed Palace's good points, which is their manager, he's got them to listen. There's 3 teams in the bottom 3 or bottom 5 would swap with Palace right now, and probably swap with their manager because he's got them in that position. No, I was just throwing a little curveball saying, if Spurs is in our acca and they don't win this,
Yeah.
Mr. Levy will not be happy at all. And I just wonder whether, you're talking about Bournemouth tends to somehow survive and everything else that might happen. Well, I don't know whether I might have a fiver on him not even starting as manager next year, Jose Mourinho at Spurs.
Yeah. That said, though, James, just finally on Tottenham, look, they are 7th, and if they do beat Palace, there's a chance they could finish 6th. When Mourinho came in, Pochettino had them in 14th.
Yeah, he's done okay. I think where they were under Pochettino, I think everyone sort of expected him to pick up. There was Kane sort of injured and he's come back and done okay since he's been back. But I think Spurs will be disappointed that they haven't, put a proper challenge on the top 4 this year. And I think Mourinho probably will be there, but he's got a lot of work to do in the summer in terms of recruitment and keeping players at the club. So it's going to be a big summer for Tottenham. If they get it right, could be back up in top 4 next season. But I have no idea which way it's going to go with them at the moment.
Yeah. Right, there we go. Our final acca of the season. Come on, boys. Tottenham to win at Crystal Palace. City to beat Norwich. Burnley at home to Brighton. And Southampton against Sheffield United. Get the champagne on ice. Get the Chateau Neuf taps in that castle and the wine cellar that you've got. The Game of Thrones style castle in the north of England now. We'll be up there drinking that during the off season. Yeah.
She'll have
she
the
can help us
cocktail
as well.
out. Cocktails out.
She's all we've got. Look, see you next time for the last show of the season. Remember, if you're looking for additional stats and trends ahead of this weekend's final Premier League day, go and download the Footy Accumulators Betting Hub app. Check out the Smart Acca function. You've got to be 18 plus to bet. Please gamble responsibly. See ya.